All right, well, welcome to art class today. We're going to be making a shamrock collage, and we're going to be doing that for St. Patrick's Day. And so what you're going to need today, you're going to need just some green paper, or if you don't have any green paper, you can just take some white paper and color it green with either crayons or oil pastels or markers, or you can even watercolor it or paint it green and then let it dry overnight and then use it for this project. You're also going to need a piece of white paper or another color for your background to put your shamrock on, your collage. And then you're going to need a pencil and just some Elmer's glue or white glue, or if you have a glue stick, that would work great too, and then just some scissors. And so to get started today, the very first thing you're going to do is just want to make sure, however big your shamrock's going to be, that it'll fit on your paper. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold my paper in half so that you guys can see I just used a scrap piece of green paper that I had from scrapbooking stuff. And so I'm just going to fold it in half, and the reason I'm going to do that is so that it's going to be equal on both sides, so my shamrock will look the same on both sides. And the side that is the folded side is going to be the middle of my shamrock. And so to make my shamrock, I'm going to start out by making the stem. Let me move this over so you can see it a little bit better. And so just however you want the stem to look like, I want mine to go out kind of a little bit farther and then go in just a little bit. And then I'm going to make mine have kind of a heart shape. So it's going to go out and then in again and then out and then go towards the center. But we don't want to go all the way to the corner, or when we open it up it'll cut it in half. And then for the top part, because we have 3 different ones, so this one will be on the other side too. And then we've got the top one, which we're going to be just splitting in half. So I'm going to make just half of a heart shape for this one. And so it doesn't have to be perfect, just do the best that you can. And the great thing is this is the inside of the paper, so this is where the glue is going to go, so you don't have to worry about it looking perfect because it's going to get covered up later on. And so just do the best you can how you want it to look. And so once you've got that drawn on there, if you don't want to have to worry about cutting it out to be perfect on both sides, you can just draw the whole thing at once. So if you were going to draw it all at once, you would kind of go like a heart shapes to make the 3 leaves of the clover, and then draw it, and then you could cut it out. But since I want mine to look the same on both sides, that's why I folded it in half like that. And I'm going to go in now with my scissors and very carefully, right on the line there, I'm going to cut out the edges. And remember, you want to keep that folded so that it'll go onto both sides there. And I'm going to cut out this part of it and cut all the way around the outside of my line, going through both sides of the paper so that it will have my other clover leaf in the exact same spot as the one that I cut out right here. And then it will cut out my top clover leaf so that it will be the same on both sides too. So then I'll get rid of my extra paper, and I've got my, when I unfold it, I've got my 3-leaf clover right there. But the next thing I'm going to do is kind of a fun step, is I'm actually going to make this into more of a kind of a puzzle type of shape. And so I'm just going to make some lines through it, and you can kind of do it however you want. So I'm just going to kind of do a few here and there. It doesn't have to be the same on all the different sides, so just however you want to do it. And then I'm going to actually cut out those pieces and put them on my paper there. So I'm going to go ahead and cut those out. And this is going to be, the side with the pencil lines will be facing down. And this is going to make a really fun shamrock design for St. Patrick's Day. So I've got, just keep, as I cut them out, I'll kind of lay them on the paper so that I know where they're supposed to go. And then just keep adding to my different pieces of my shamrock. So kind of just for a fun way to look at it. So I'm just going to keep cutting out those pieces. until I've got the whole thing cut out. And it's kind of like a puzzle, so you'll have to kind of figure out, okay, making sure that everything's facing the right way so that it'll fit on there. And then you'll have your whole shamrock design. So there is my finished shamrock, and what I'm doing is I'm actually going to kind of space it out so that there's a little bit of space between each of the parts of it. And then I'm going to go ahead and glue it down. So when we're working with Elmer's glue, you want to make sure to use just the only the amount of glue that you need. So only a couple of dots is plenty. So I'm just going to go ahead and put dots around the edges. You don't really even need any glue in the middle at all. And see how I'm making those dots as tiny as I can. That's going to make it so that it doesn't ooze out everywhere. And so then I'm just going to try to find the best place for it, and I'm going to hold it down for about 5 seconds or so for each of the different pieces. And if you want to make it more detailed, you can have more pieces, but you just want to be careful not to cut too many out at once, or you might have a hard time remembering where they're supposed to go. And so I'm going around making sure that I have glue dots all the way around the edges, but you don't have to worry about putting any in the middle. And then holding that down for about 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that it stays really good. If it's not staying after 5 seconds, then you might need to hold it down for a little bit longer, or see if you might need to add just a little bit more glue around the edges that are coming up. So I'm just going around making sure at the corners of everything that there's glue, and then gluing it down. And it's super important when you're done that you also make sure to put your name on your paper. It's always fun to see your guys' work and have your guys put your names on it so we know whose is whose there. And yep, you know what, I just realized I almost put mine on the wrong spots too. So that's always good to kind of check it over and say, okay, do I have this in the right spot? So now I'm going to add a little bit more glue. Glue this spot down, hold it for about 5 seconds. I've got a couple more left, and then we'll be all done with our collage of our shamrock there. And holding that one down, so I just keep adding just little dots of glue. And if you're having a hard time with this, not a big deal, just try to do the best that you can to just not have too much glue, because that will help it to work out better. And then I'm going to go ahead and glue that part down too. And then last but not least, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Make sure you're holding it down while you're letting the glue kind of sink into the paper there. So just little dots kind of around the edge there. Going in and adding that very last piece of my shamrock, and counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I'm going to sign my name on my paper here. And I think it's fun to date your paper if you can too. So this is 2014. So yeah, so that's kind of a fun way that you can add in a little bit of a crazy design to your shamrock for St. Patrick's Day. So have a great St. Patrick's Day, everyone.